Okay. So as we're getting ready now, I think I will get ready to start for today. So Miss Natalie is just going to be joining us very soon. So for those that are here, as we get ready to start, I'm just going to begin with our little check-in. Okay. So remember, often as we start these sessions, we have our 4-point check-in, and our check-in begins with slow down, we breathe, we appreciate, we smile. Okay. So Natalie's coming in there right now. So for those that are ready, let's just begin with our little check-in. Hi, Natalie. We're just getting ready with our little breath exercise and check-in while you get settled. So we'll begin if you're at home, wherever you are, if you feel comfortable, just beginning with closing your eyes. It's just a great way for us to begin to slow down. Maybe you've been rushing around for the morning, maybe just trying to find a Zoom to get on here. But I just want you to think about being here right now at the moment. So feel yourself sinking into your chair, your seat, wherever you're at. And just letting a sense of calm and stillness come over you now. And then let's move into our breath. What a wonderful way just to calm our nervous system. And we're just going to take 3 breaths in through the nose and out through the nose today, just on your own time and slowly. And as we breathe in and out through the nose, we really engage that relaxation response within our nervous system. And it can help us to slow down in just a few moments. So as we slow our breath down, now we'll connect to our heart. And we're going to focus on the next step of our 4 phase, which is appreciation. So if you feel comfortable, or if it helps, you might want to put your hand on your heart. And I want you to begin to think about something that you appreciate. Something in your life, maybe something that happened today, on the weekend, something that's going really well in your life right now. I want you to bring that into your mind. And just for a few moments, really focus on that appreciation and how it settles into the body. How does it make your heart feel when you think of that thing that you appreciate? And for most of us, when we lock into that emotion of appreciation, a smile will just come naturally. Just allow yourself to have a nice big grin or even a laugh as you think about what it is that you appreciate. And then when you're ready, I'll get you to open your eyes, come back into our space, and get ready to learn today with our special guest.
Well, hello, Tiffany. Thank you. I needed that recenter. And after running from my trainers to Zoom, and knowing I'd be like just on time or needing a moment's grace. So thank you. That's beautiful to recenter. And it's amazing that you're offering this to your inner circle. And I believe you invited other guests to our time today as well.
Yes, so we'll see a few more people popping in, and this will be recorded as well, and we'll go out to all of the inner circle members.
Amazing. Yeah, to have that check-in once a week is beautiful, and realizing how quickly in like 3 minutes how you can shift your physiology and shift your nervous system.
Yes. And we know about that, Natalie, right? Heart math and heart connection and all of it.
Yes. Do you want to make me
Yeah, I'm just going to just do your, let's see, let's make you host. Okay.
You might be able to just.
And I think I can still record though. Can't, yes.
Yes, you should be able to. Okay. Alrighty.
All right, so as we begin today, I just want to first start by introducing Natalie. So most of you would have seen Natalie's bio, but I just wanted to talk a little bit about who she is. So Natalie is someone that I met, I think maybe 2019 or so. It's been several years ago when we were working with a similar mentor. And Natalie has gone on now to really kind of have a change of what she's doing. But Natalie is a mom. She's a functional medicine practitioner, a metabolic health coach, a nature lover, and recovering pharmacist. So Natalie's very familiar with medications and how they work. And, over her journey, she's been able to see how we can actually tap into nature's own pharmacy. So Natalie spent over 20 years working in a community pharmacy, and then she became passionate about functional medicine. And she realized it provided the missing pieces to create her own personal life transformation. So with a new set of eyes, she realized the power of holding space for others to rewrite their own health story without relying on prescription medications. Believes in a holistic, person-centered approach to health and healing. And her role is to empower others to improve their lifestyle skills rather than chase pills to fix issues. So she's gifted with empathy, intuition, and listening skills, and she's helped hundreds of women on their journey of health. And her vision is a world where women are empowered to celebrate their beautiful bodies, creating a legacy for future generations, enjoying all that life has to offer. She enjoys an active lifestyle, loves to spend time kayaking, coaching youth soccer, and out in her garden, raising beautiful monarch butterflies. So I'm so excited, really. It's a pleasure to have you here today, Natalie, to hear your wisdom that you're going to share about something that can really help us to heal.
Amazing. And yeah, and I know you share with everyone, all your patients and clients and members of your inner circle, that we look at like the wheel of life, and I'll talk about that. I've got a slide for that. It's just like we're multifaceted, right? We're multifaceted beings. There's so many different phases in our life, and we go through that. And I remember as a pharmacist, I'd go to the pharmacy conferences, and I'd look around and I'd realize like most of these pharmacists aren't healthy. Like I would see like the food that was offered. Like one time I was at a conference in Toronto, downtown Toronto, and even though I'd requested like gluten-free meal, what they brought me like literally made my stomach turn of like, this is what is supposed to be like a healthier option that you're feeding at a conference full of health practitioners. And I literally had to leave the conference and go somewhere else and get lunch. So when we're in and that was kind of like very, I guess, disheartening, right? Because I got into healthcare. I always knew I wanted to be in healthcare in some capacity because I wanted to help people be healthy. I wanted to help people be well. And then I looked around and saw like my regular peers that they were not healthy as well. That really was like huge eye opening. And at that point, I was already in and already certified in functional medicine. And then it became the no brainer at that point of like the path, right? I could see the clear path of like, all right, this is what I see in the functional medicine path, people who follow this lifestyle, people who embody these practices, and the conventional, right? The conventional options that are being given in the regular allopathic system. And I could see that fork in the road, and it was very clear which path I was going to take. And I love to talk to people about energy and vitality, because really at the end of the day, it's about adding quality to our life right now and adding quality in the years that we have on this planet, right? We never know how many years that is, but we want to add quality to that. And it really comes down to having energy. So I'd love to know, you guys are free to turn your cameras on, ask questions in the chat as we go through, is your energy what it used to be? And then just think for a minute, like, are you happy with where your energy is? And maybe you want to think of it on like a scale of 1 to 10, like where is your energy versus what you think it could be versus what it is realistically on a day to day. And we'll go through some of those, factors that influence our energy. And then the other question I want you to think on is, are we adapted to modern stressors? So Tiffany's sharing, where's your energy now on a scale of 1 to 10? So are we adapted to the modern stressors? Because when we're looking to bring things into our life, when we're looking to add to our health routine or optimize things and just feel good every day, some people will say, hey, you don't need to do that thing. Like we're biologically and genetically designed to go and do life. But I would argue that we weren't genetically designed to deal with the things that we've had to deal with our environment in the last 50 years. We're not designed. We don't have the evolutionary advantage to deal with the stressors that we deal with on a regular basis. And the beauty is that we're at a point in evolution where previously it was survival. Like, were you warm? Were you dry? Did you have water? Did you have food? Right. So we've got most of those, like, thank goodness we have most of those covered now. And because we have most of those covered, then all these other new stresses came on, right? So some of it is that we put it upon ourselves, but that is the reality, is that I believe our physiology is not adapted to the modern stressors. And here's just a few of what those modern stressors might look like, right? When we think of stress, we often think of, the mental stress, like, oh, I got to get this deadline done for work. Oh, my son's starting university. How are we going to pay for that, right? It's financial stressors, arguments within the family. We're used to thinking of those as stress, but I want you to like take a step back and realize the other stresses that are affecting our body. And that's like the reality of where we're at. So thank you, Carla. Hanging out at a 5, right? So we have circadian disruption. So circadian disruption refers to, what time we get up and what time we go to bed. And most of us have disruption in that rhythm. And that's really the foundation of our hormones and everything else. So that's a natural disruption. And sometimes that disruption comes by the work we do, right? Maybe we're a shift worker. Maybe we work 12 hours. Maybe based on life demands, you have to get up before the sun rises to get your kids off to daycare to go do your work, right? So sometimes there's factors outside of our quote unquote perfect that to lead a life in circadian harmony with nature that would be best for us. So the reality is most of us are living with some sort of circadian disruption, and that might be 5% off, that might be 100% off. Chronic inflammation, a chronic issue for many people. Extreme weather, right? I'm in Southern Ontario, and I'm actually born in Prince Edward Island, so I'm an East Coast girl as well. But in Southwestern Ontario, when the heat kicked in the end of June, beginning of July, when I went from like cool to like 30, 33 degrees overnight, my body wasn't adapted to that. So I could see the effects. My air conditioning wasn't working. I was literally sleeping in a tent in the backyard. I was swollen. I was puffy because that was my body adapting to the extreme weather overnight. Right. And then when it got unseasonably cool again, it's just like, whoa, like it's 22, but it feels cool and I need a jacket. So weather is a stress that a lot of times we don't realize how that's affecting our overall, what we call allostatic load. EMFs, toxin exposure, forever chemicals, digestive imbalances, over reliance on whether it's stimulants or medication over the years they're stressors on our system, because a lot of times we're asking our body, we're using substances, whether they're legal or not, whether they're natural or not, we're using substances to push ourselves or to get a result over what our body actually really wants to do right now, right? If you have to take a pre-workout before you go and exercise, like, was your body really ready to do that thing, right? So I just want to give that as an example. You can think of, wow, where do I have to take something if I need my brain to click on today, or I have to take something to go work out? A lot of times we've been over relying on these external things, and time, there's time and place for all of that to get the job done. But if we're doing that all the time, are we putting too much of a stress? Are we stretching that elastic from ourselves too much? And a lot of times we are. Decades of highly processed foods, right? Everything in moderation, but it just adds up over time, right? A nutrient depleted diet, right? Highly processed foods are often very nutrient depleted. Our soils are very depleted, so we can still be eating a lot of fruits and vegetables, but what is in that food might be different. So a lot of us are actually chronically depleted in nutrients for a variety of reasons. Having constant stimulation, like it's hard to escape stimulation with phones, and like we're just totally accessible most of the time. And so we have notifications ringing, we have things always pulling our attention. So it's constantly stimulating our system. We have cheap dopamine, right? So social media is designed to be cheap dopamine that keeps us hooked into scrolling, and that drains our brain and it drains our focus. a lot of times we do have an epidemic of lack of social and community support, right? So like this really came to head, and we could see this amongst ourselves and our families and our communities in COVID. What happened when we didn't have community support, when we didn't have social support. And like I work from home, right? So there's regular things that you would take with interacting with people at an office or being out in public more, that maybe a lot of life has shifted, right? So we can ask ourselves, do I have enough social community support? And I find for women, and I'm not sure everyone in this group, but it's like I find women who are working, especially if you are managing family, that the extra community social time, we just don't have time for it. So, and sometimes we go like months without realizing like what's going on. And then so often we have a void of healthy physical touch. Physical touch, just like Tiffany, we did like that breathing to bring into ourselves and put our hand on our chest. Beautiful physical touch is one of the antidotes to stress hormones. Oxytocin is our relaxer hormone, it's our love hormone. And one of the ways we can nurture oxytocin coming forth in our body is healthy physical touch. And so there's a void of that, right? One, I can like I'm a single woman, right? I don't have a partnership. So I don't have that ongoing. I don't have those magical 8-second hugs every day because I have 2 teenage boys, and trust me, they don't want any part of that, nor should they have to have to be that. So I have a cat. So energy, health, energy, and vitality really is about resilience. So I'm going to frame our conversation really from the lens of resilience today as we talk about stress, because we all have stress. And some of the sources of stress you might not have even realized they were affecting you. And most people can list the things that are very stressful in their life. And to me, resilience is about, well, to me, this is what resilience is about, right? So resilience is about, we're never not going to have stress, but how am I doing? How am I showing up in the world? Am I able to show up with a smile, right? And sometimes I'm going to have to do extra things to check in to make sure that happens. And that's what I want to present to some of you to you today. And I'm sure Dr. Tiffany works with you guys as well on these things. So to me, resilience is nervous system regulation. Regulating, acknowledging when, oh yeah, I needed that 5 minutes to pull my breath in. Yeah, I needed to go sit in the sun for a few minutes. Yeah, I needed whatever it is, to having the capacity and the awareness that my nervous system is not where I want it to be, and then having the tools to regulate that. Resilience is having stable blood sugar, being empowered over my mood and emotions, having freedom of thought. Freedom of thought. That's so huge. When I was preparing these slides, I was like, wow, that's like freedom of thought, not being told what to think, but what are the thoughts running through your head? And when we tap into that, I know the inner mind and the inner chatter, a lot of times like we're our own harshest critic, and that's like running. If I could hear what was going through your minds on a regular basis, a lot of times you'd be like, ooh, yeah, I really don't want anyone else to hear what's going through my mind. So do we have freedom of the thought, right? Do we have freedom of movement? Like, and that is like, hey, can I get up in the morning and not have pain? I'm going on a canoe trip later this week. That's the question. Like, will I be able to go and hike for 4 days, right? Will I be able to go and do what I want to do? When my 15-year-old son, when they had the call for soccer coaches this spring, like we really need coaches, like to have the freedom that I know I can go and coach some 14 and 15-year-olds play soccer. So whatever that is for you, can I move through the day with grace? Can I acknowledge boundaries? That's resilience. And it's never about being selfish. You are not selfish, but we have the right to be clear in our boundaries. And that's resilience. So being resilient is acknowledging what our boundary is. And a lot of times that's going to be saying no to things, or negotiating or communicating, and knowing what to say yes to. So if we hold boundaries, so we're clear in our energy line, that gives me the capacity to say yes to the things I really want to do. Where if I let things sneak in that are draining my energy or giving me extra stress, and I let it in, and then I don't have the capacity to have patience with my kids at 8 o'clock at night, that's not how I want to show up, right? That's not fair to my kids. And that's not what I signed up for, right? So I'm clear on like, what are my priorities and what are the boundaries I have to set with everything else going on in real modern life. So feeling healthy, strong, and fit, that's resilience to me, right? Having a connection to source. So whatever that is to you, having a connection to something greater than yourself. I don't believe we can be truly resilient unless we have something like that. And that's going to vary. Everyone's going to have their own definition of that. Resilience is sleeping well, right? Knowing that I will go to bed and I will go to sleep and I will sleep well and I will wake up having had a good night's sleep. That's resilience. Being able to recover well from workouts or hot summer doing the yard work in the hot summer days. And then having the strength and resources to choose what is best for you. That is resilience. Oh, the picture is not loading. Let me try something else. Let me go back here. Okay, I'm going to zoom out for a sec, just so you can get an idea of this picture. I'll try to zoom in. This probably looks really weird on your end. So Tiffany, can you see like the HPA axis there?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, so I'm not sure on the big picture why it wasn't coming through. These are tech things that happen in real life, right? So the HPA axis, this is the hormone. This is the grand central station. This is like the master controller of everything in our body. So we have the hypothalamus and the pituitary glands in our brain, and we have the adrenal glands, which sit on top of the kidneys. And this is what's running the show. This is what is sitting back and taking the information from everything that's going around, right? Inside your body, outside your body, and then figures out what needs to happen inside your body in terms of nervous system, hormones, digestion, temperature regulation. All of the things come back to the HPA axis. So now I'm going to zoom back out. So just give it a sec. It's going to look weird for you guys for a minute. And I just want to focus on the adrenal glands as part of that trio. There we go. So the adrenal glands, they're the little triangle-shaped glands that sit on top of their kidneys. And for women especially, well, for anyone, the adrenal glands are the masters of regulating stress hormones and releasing stress hormones. So adapting to what is going on in life. And for women, as we enter the time of perimenopause and menopause, our ovaries, which are producing estrogen and progesterone, they start shutting down. They're like, we're done. So they gradually start reducing the hormones they make. And then eventually they're really not doing a whole heck of a lot. So when that happens, the adrenal glands pick up an extra workload. So if you figure like through the first 40 years of your life, and that's different for every woman, sometimes it's 35, 40, 45, 50. For the first good chunk of your life, you were going and you were dealing and everything was fine. And then all of a sudden it was like, whoa, what has happened? Well, your adrenal glands, the HPA axis had adapted to life. It adapted to, when you eat supper, the running around you have to do, your work, your activity level, it had adapted to everything. And that was life. And then the ovaries start toning down and now there's an extra load on the adrenal glands, right? If you're already spinning 10 plates and someone says, here, spin 2 more, something's going to fall. And that's often, not for everyone, but that's often what women will start to experience in perimenopause and menopause. It's like, what the heck just happened? Well, the adrenal glands were already like pedal to the metal. They were already like doing everything they needed to do to keep you rolling. And then we just asked them to do 2 more things. And it's like, whoa. So this is often a time where we have very high stressful time in our life with our career, right? This is like the core, it's supposed to be like the peak of our career where we're like, we've put in our beginning stage, we're like advancing, we want to be doing more things, we have bigger responsibility, we're maybe moving up in the corporate world or moving up into upper management positions. So there's more stress in career. And then we're in this gap where if you have children, maybe you're caring for children and you might also be caring for elder family members as well. So the adrenal glands are just overworked. They're just they're just I want to say they're done. They're not done. They're just like, hey, a lot is being asked for them, and then things might start to show up. So things might be getting progressively more noticeable, right? Things start with a whisper and then they kind of go to a scream, or it might sometimes people like literally notice it overnight, like, hey, I was totally fine. And then I woke up and I felt like I hit a wall. And then some people know exactly when that feeling started. So the truth is that stress depletes us in multiple ways, and it might show up. And these are just a few ways that chronic stress and being depleted from stress shows up, right? So it might show up as brain fog, memory issues, mood swings, low energy, a lack of joy. Like this is a huge one. It's like if you can't connect to joy or if you can't connect to love, we become like emotionally numb. And that's partly because like it's almost like it's an adaptive mechanism. So it's like our body's just like to go to like higher emotion states. Love, joy is a higher emotion state. And then like other lower emotion states, like we just kind of feel numb because it takes effort to produce and feel that higher energy. So if you're disconnected from that, that is a huge area of opportunity that I would welcome everyone to step into. Having a weakened immune system, weakened immune function. If you suddenly don't recover from things as quickly, or if you suddenly get sick more often than you did before, right? Maybe there's a weakened immune function, hormonal imbalances, being wired but tired, like especially if you go, it's bedtime and you're like, I am exhausted, but yet there's like this low key like agitation or vibration, jitteriness in your body. That's the wired but tired, we call it. Having sleep disturbances, having low energy in the morning or midday, like that 3-4 o'clock crash. If you're a slow starter in the morning, right? So someone who like really takes a long time for the body to like start moving or like open up, or like just like, oh my goodness, like it takes me hours to be able to thinking. Being a slow starter in the morning, that's like, to me, that's like your body's really, really depleted from the effects of usually chronic, very, very long-term stress. Having high blood pressure or low blood pressure. This can be, if this is things we'd be looking at, especially in the functional realm, is what's going on with your stress levels and your adrenals and your HPA axis. Having headaches, chronic pain, intolerance to bright light or sun, if you clench or grind your teeth, or if you have like worsening or new allergies to things like maybe environmental allergies or new exposures. If these things are either getting worse or showing up all of a sudden, then we need to be looking at what's the role of stress in all of this. So I mentioned briefly, this is one of the images of the wheel of life, of we are multifaceted beings. So you might be here primarily for your health, I would imagine. And in that, we can, if we have 10 out of 10 health, but no finances, or if we have 10 out of 10 health, but no friends, like, do we really have a balanced life? No, we want to have a nice balanced life. So we want to be looking at, our friends in our community and our social networks, our closest people to us. We want to be fulfilled in our career. We want to have the financial resources and the time resources to be able to take care of ourselves and others. And we want to have that leisure time, that joy time, that time that really brings out our creativity. These are all the things we look at from a functional perspective, not just, hey, what's your blood sugar? Hey, what's your blood pressure markers? So Tiffany wanted me to introduce the Ganoderma to you guys as one of the natural things we bring into our life, right? So I started really bringing in like the functional mushrooms about 2018 into what I was doing. And so Ganoderma lucidum is what we call a functional mushroom. So there's the mushrooms that you would go to the store and eat, your button mushrooms, your cremini, your portobello mushrooms. Those are what we call food or culinary mushrooms. And then we also have functional mushrooms. So the Ganoderma, reishi is one of the other names for it. On its own, it's like super, super hard. So you can't really just eat it. But it can be made into teas. It can be made into tinctures. It can be ground up into powders that we can add to things or have in capsules. And it's a traditional Chinese medicine. So it's been used traditionally in Asian cultures for over 2,000 years. So in terms of long track record, and then again, going back to the basics, like going back to like what we co-evolved with, we actually co-evolved with the broader category of mushrooms and fungus. We actually share like something like 50% of the DNA with these functional mushrooms are similar to us. So when we think of something like a drug that might be like brand new, it's like we don't have a track record of 2000 years. And that really has no genetic similarity or imprint with our physiology. And what I really like is that it's also revered and it's also called the mushroom of immortality, because it's believed to have a spiritual potency. So again, connecting with nature, that connects us with something that is bigger than ourselves, right? So connecting with nature, connecting with Mother Earth is one way of connecting to something bigger of ourselves. And when we put those substances, when we choose to connect with those substances and bring those substances into our physical body, then we literally just open up to what is around us in nature as well. So just a few of the reasons that I love reishi, that I love Ganoderma, is that it's adaptogenic. So adaptogens, the body's smart, right? So the body is always trying to keep you alive, and it's dealing with the stressors around. So I love adaptogens because the body takes them and it knows what to do, and it will direct the energy and resources based on the demands of the day. So something like reishi is a beautiful adaptogen that the body can take, and it depends on, okay, if I need a little, I need a little boost today, or I need a little tone down today, it kind of keeps the scales balanced. So it supports the body in times of stress, which I'm sure most people can realize that pretty much every day there is some level of stress, right? So it's like, why do I take reishi every day? Because the stress is not going to go away. That's just the reality of my life, and I'm sure many of your lives as well. It supports the immune system. It reduces inflammation. It reduces oxidative stress, and it really is supportive of hormones, right? Our hormones go one way or another based on that messaging from that HPA axis, based on what the adrenal glands and the hypothalamus is like, hey, what is most important right now? If we want nice, level, balanced hormones, we want to stay in that adaptogenic space. I also love that reishi is great for sleep. And again, many, not everyone, but many perimenopausal and menopausal women, sleep is something that can be a struggle, and that for a variety of reasons. The drop in progesterone definitely is one. So reishi acts on GABA receptors. So GABA is a calming neurotransmitter that helps relax without necessarily making drowsy, but it helps relax. So that's one of the reasons why it helps with stress 24/7, but also helps promote sleep. So we do know that for those taking reishi, they usually fall asleep faster, which is called sleep latency. It increases the total time asleep in your sleep window. So hopefully you're allotting 8 to 9 hours for sleep. You're going to get more sleep during that sleep window. And again, it's very supportive of those sleep hormones as well. And anything you see here, PMID, this means it's a PubMed reference number. So this references one of the studies where we get this information from. It helps with endurance. Like, life is an endurance sport, in my opinion. So it helps with nutrient delivery, right? So it helps improve blood flow, right? If we want to be moving, one of the reasons with brain fog is like, hey, is the brain getting enough blood? Is the brain inflamed? Is the brain getting the right nutrients that we need? Like, our brain is one of the most energy dependent organs in the body. And so if it's struggling, that's why sometimes like that's might be showing up as headache, might be showing up as brain fog. That's huge, right? So having something that's going to improve blood flow, improve nutrient delivery, it's going to help improve our mental clarity, our mental focus, our ability to do work for longer periods of time. And it's going to help with that term resilience that I really, really like. So Ganoderma, so this was a direct quote. This is the title of one of the PubMed studies, is that Ganoderma improves physical fitness in women with fibromyalgia. And so the reason why I really like this study is because, to me, fibromyalgia is like it is very complex, and those who struggle with it, it's a struggle, right? But it's multifactorial. Someone not making good energy, inflammation, hormones are a mess. They just really struggle with life. And so for someone with fibromyalgia to be even thinking of like, hey, go work out, they're like, I don't even know how I'm going to do that. So they gave these women Ganodermal lucidum, and then it showed the improvements in their physical fitness over time, because we know it's working on many different factors for them. And then giving them that edge, right? That like that little bit. Sometimes we just need that little window of like, oh, I feel I can go for that walk today, right? That, and sometimes that's like that inner mental resilience, like I can go for that walk today. And because I went for 3 walks this week versus 0, that will start to compound upon itself. Blood sugar regulation, improving insulin sensitivity is a huge thing we should all be aware of and be very mindful of and be very proactive about. So it improves insulin sensitivity. It reduces inflammation. It regulates. So gluconeogenesis is just a big word that your liver makes sugar. So it helps regulate that, similar to through the same pathway as metformin. So metformin is a very common diabetic drug. Reishi actually acts on one of the same pathways as metformin does. It does help lower HbA1c. It may enhance beta cell function from the pancreas, right? So that the pancreas doesn't get burnt out as quickly. Again, a lot of this blood sugar regulation is really coming back to hormones. And another thing in terms of like energy and resilience and vitality is, as humans, we run on oxygen, and we need oxygen getting to the right place. So reishi also helps improve the oxygenation and getting oxygen inside the cells to the mitochondria, which is where our energy is made. So it improves mitochondrial function. It gives it what it needs. It reduces oxidative stress. Improving blood flow and circulation is going to help all of that. And it does help improve lung health and function. So improve the respiration, oxygen coming in, and then waste products being removed from our body when we breathe out. Fun fact, the main reason we breathe is to breathe out waste. It's actually not to breathe in oxygen. So fun fact. So there's other functional mushrooms that I love. So I talked about reishi there. Another one I love is lion's mane. So we think lion's mane, this is a picture of it here. Like it looks like a brain. So we think lion's mane, think brain. So we use it for brain fog, memory. It's proven to help with neurogenesis, creating new neuronal pathways and improving neuronal cells. Previously, it was believed that, you lost neurons, you lost connections, that was it. We now know that is not true. And we can continue to create and mold our brains if we're proactive about it. So lion's mane, I'm a huge fan. Cordyceps is a really weird looking medicinal mushroom. And for me, cordyceps is straight up for the adrenals. So it really helps with endurance. I made this presentation mostly about endurance. So that's why the cordyceps is talking about mitochondria health, VO2 max. So that's like our aerobic capacity, ATP. So it helps with energy support, but cordyceps are great for the adrenals as well. Chaga is very well known for its antioxidant properties, helping with immune resilience and immune monitoring within the body and for skin health. Turkey tail is great for the gut immune axis. So our digestive system is another key foundational systems that really is a big interplay with everything else. And what's going on in the gut will dictate what's going on everywhere else in the body. So in terms of the gut and the immune complex, really, really helpful for that. And it's a great microbiome modulator. So again, it gives the body things like beta glucans and certain types of fiber, which our healthy bacteria really, really enjoy. So we start to look at ways that we can incorporate, like these are great gifts from nature, and we start looking at ways that we can incorporate them into our regular lives. And one of the ways I've been doing that since 2018 is having that in, I have it in a variety of sources, but one of the things is I have it in a coffee. So I have a mushroom coffee a couple times a day, but definitely every morning. So it's about looking at the things that we're already doing and just making them a little bit better for us, right? So it's convenient. I get the compounded effects, right? If I look at something like compounded interest, right? If I invest a penny every day, right? It doesn't seem like that much, but over a course of a year and a course of 10 years, it's like, wow, that really added up. So for me, it's like the compounded interest. Did I do something positive for my body today? or negative. So I know that. I know I'm making those choices, and it tastes great. It's super convenient, and bodies respond to dose, duration, frequency, and consistency. So some things, if you eat a quote unquote, there's no such thing as a perfect diet, but if you have a quote unquote perfect diet on a Tuesday, and then on Wednesday you're like, why didn't I drop 10 pounds? Well, we know that, yeah, you ate like healthy and you went for a walk on one day. So it's the consistency over time, and that's what we want to look for. It is bringing in things that become our healthy lifestyle, become things we can do every day. Because as we look to bring in and adopt different healthier lifestyles and look at really stepping into the life we are trying to create, we eventually want it that we're just doing it. We don't have to think about it. And I'll share with you my morning routine in just a minute. And so for me, it's a commitment to balance over quick fixes. And there is a huge difference. So one of the reasons that Dr. Tiffany and I specifically use this company, like again, with my background as a pharmacist, I'm very picky of supplements, where they come from, their sourcing. My plug is like, please don't ever buy supplements on Amazon or like Walmart online. Like, please don't. Another conversation, but please don't. So choosing organic anything, but organic reishi, super, super important, and things that are grown in nature. So this is an example, like over here on the right is reishi that is labeled organic because they didn't use any pesticides or herbicides, but it's grown in these like bags in like labs. And it, like, to me, it just looks anemic, right? So this is technically on the left, the same variety of reishi, organic, grown in nature, right? Proper circadian rhythm, all the cues from nature that it needs. Like, that's not even the same, right? And so you might go to the health food store and buy organic reishi in a capsule, but the source of it might look like that. And if you aren't sure, if the company's not transparent, you don't really know what the actual true source of that mushroom was. So, that's why sometimes people will be like, hey, I tried this thing, some people don't like everything, or like, I didn't like it, or I didn't notice everything, right? Well, again, an apple is an apple, sometimes not, right? Sometimes it's very, very different. So this is just briefly showing the life cycle of the reishi mushroom. Like, as Tiffany shared, I raise butterflies. So like, I'm literally in life cycles all the time with butterfly eggs and caterpillars and monarch butterflies. So the reishi has a life cycle as well. So what you see here is the actual mushroom we call the fruiting body. And when it's healthy, it will reproduce and produce spores. And that's actually one of the fun facts, is like why some of the organo products have the spore powder in them. Because just like a seed, the spores have all the information to grow and expand. So they're much more potent in certain things. So just like we know seeds are nutrient packed, like sunflower seeds, pumpkin seeds, walnut seeds, we know they're really nutrient packed. So is the spore powder as well. But the fun fact is that some of those, like if you look at the reishi mushrooms like these mushrooms won't actually, they're so sick, they will not produce spores, right? This is why infertility rates are so high, is because like some people's bodies are so sick. It's like, no, we're not reproducing. Like, we are not well enough to reproduce. So organos, mushrooms, are healthy enough to even produce the spores properly, which many companies are not. So we have the spore powder, we have the Ganoderma, which is the whole mushroom itself. And then the mycelium is like the roots structure, right? If you've ever been out in the woods, it's been a while since I've been to New Brunswick, but if you're out in the woods at certain times of year, all of a sudden there's all these mushrooms coming up and you're like, where do these come up? Like, so the mycelium has always been underneath the forest floor. And when the conditions are just right, then the mushrooms will pop up. So the mycelium is there, and it has its own unique properties as well. And I know I'm like rambling on. I always get really excited and I keep going. So Tiffany wanted me to highlight. Tiffany, do you have any questions? And then before I highlight a few products with some of these mushrooms in that we talked about.
This is amazing, Natalie. And it's so wonderful that women, I hopefully, and those listening, can see this evolution of our body and the stress that we go through, how our environment is not, we need a little bit of an attunement, and how we can use nature's medicine to help us. So please, just go ahead and share more.
Oh, I love that. Yes, attunement. Exactly. So these, in terms of like, again, like what do I put into my body on a regular day? How do I choose what is best for me? I'll give you a couple of options and a couple of my favorites. So when I started with the organo products, I started with the King of Coffee. And the reason is the coffee is all organic and it uses the spores of the mushroom. So it is like premium top shelf and it tastes really, really good and it's amazing. So this is the coffee I started drinking in 2018. And actually, fun fact, previous to that, I couldn't drink regular coffee. Like I'd get like agitations, my heart would palpitate, didn't like it. And then I've since realized is like I realized that I could smell the acid in regular coffee, right? So the organo coffee, one of the things is they pre-brew it and they neutralize some of the acid that's in typical coffee. Like coffee is very, very acidic for the system. And only once I started drinking King coffee and someone brought me a coffee from, a big chain, I was like, okay. I'm like, well, I don't really drink anything other than this, but I'll be nice, right? Someone brought me something and I smelled it. I'm just like, oh, like I could just smell the difference. I'm like, oh, this is why I couldn't drink coffee before. Like I can smell the acid. So anyway, so to keep my body neutral is also very helpful. So the King is the one I recommend for everyone to start with. And then a few years ago, Organo released a new coffee called Royal. And I wasn't sure at first because it's different than the King because my palate was used to the King. But it has three mushrooms in it. It has the lion's mane, it has reishi, and it has cordyceps in it. And the very first time I had it, my brain like was on fire that day. I was on Zoom calls all day, and it was like on one, I was like, wow, that was really good. And then like might have even been a call with Tiffany one of those days. And then I had my second one. I'm like, wow, my brain, like I'm on fire today. I was just like, oh, I had lion's mane. And it was just like, it was palpable from the first serving I had with it. So now my regular morning routine is I do a royal first because I want that lion's mane in first thing in the morning. And then I've also got the cordyceps for my adrenals. Of course, there's reishi in there as well. And then my second cup, I'll have King, probably usually about 11 o'clock. I'm in Ontario time. So right after we jump off here, I'll go grab my second King. Black is a beautiful bold roast. So someone who likes like a bolder roast, the black is great. And interestingly, the coffee is, even though it's not certified organic, partly the company did that to keep the price low, right? Because to do organic, you got to keep up the certifications and the testing and da 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 da. The coffees actually tests just as clean as the organic, even though it doesn't have the organic certification. So that's like really, really helpful for us because I just want you to have the one that you like. Like, I don't care which one you try. It's like which one that you like that you'll have every day, have that one, right? So the black is great. And if you're used to like a bolder taste, the black is the way to go. And there's actually two teas. So there's a green tea, which is green tea with reishi mushroom. And then the red tea has reishi plus cordyceps in it. So I love the red tea in the afternoon. And in the summer, I'll actually do like a red tea or a green tea in a liter mason jar and like have it brew it and then have it cold. So I'll put it in the fridge. I actually brewed it in the sun yesterday. So my red tea, so it's in the fridge. And then this afternoon, I'll add some lemon juice and a little bit of a pinch of salt. And that'll be my refreshing drink in the afternoon. So the red tea, it still has caffeine, but it's super, super low. And then it's got the reishi and the cordyceps as well, which is why I love it for the adrenals. To me, the cordyceps is just like my adrenal. I call that one my adrenal tonic. And I wanted to share as we wrap up, and I'll get to the questions that you have. I want to share my morning routine so that you can come away with something tangible as well. And I don't know if you guys remember, there's like a little trend going around on Instagram a while ago of like, hey, make your like chat GPT to do your little cartoon character. So this was the cartoon character that chat GPT came up with me. And in terms of a morning routine, it looks like a lot, but it's all really what I call habit stacked. And it is just life now, right? So it's not like, oh, I have to do this. I have to, like, I was mindful of it this morning, knowing I was going to share about it. I'm like, the first, like, up to here was done in like the first 30 minutes before when I was awake. So it really doesn't take time. So I start with, and this is like, as soon as I'm awake, my eyes aren't even open. I just internally say a forgiveness prayer for myself. I say a servant prayer. So it's like setting my intention for the day. Right? And that's like, I'm not even awake. My eyes aren't even open. That's just automatic now. And then I pet my cat. right? So I have that loving connection to something other than myself, pet the cat. And then I have 500 mils of warm water with lemon and with salt. And usually I'm drinking this outside barefoot, looking to the sun, and then listening to, there's a woman I follow. She does a daily focus every day, which is like a 5 minute message. So I usually am listening to that while I'm outside with my lemon water, bare feet on the grass, looking at the sun, and usually my cat's hanging around. Right. So there's so much like magic happening in 5 minutes. Right. So it might seem like, well, it's a lot. Like it's just all happening. But because I'm aware of it, I'm also like very like tapping into and affirming the benefits that are happening with that. And then I have amino acids. And then I have my royal coffee first. And then I read a chapter in my Bible. And then right now I'm doing, again, the Bible, the heart coherence. Like I'll go through seasons or phases of what I'm doing. But right now that's what I'm doing. I committed to that. And then I do 5 minutes of heart coherence breathing. I just put on a little YouTube, and then just breathe for 5 minutes, and it goes by so fast. I'm like, oh, it's done already. Could be longer, but that works for my morning schedule. And then depending on the day, today was workout day. So a workout or a walk or sun salutation, something to move my body to get myself ready for work. And then as I come and I plop myself down at my desk for work, again, I work from home, I spray some essential oils, and then I choose some music that I want in the background to make sure I'm like focused and the environment is set right. And then I'll have a king coffee, again, typically about 11 o'clock. So that's how I try to start my day. Again, not every day because there's no such thing as perfect, but most days it's pretty on point. Yeah. So Veronique asked, I don't drink coffee. Any other good options for tea? So interesting. I skipped over this in the essence of time, but the Organo also has the reishi in capsule form as well. So depending on what you're looking for, we actually have there's actually three different capsule options. So they're great for, sometimes clinically we'll want someone to take more of the reishi, but we don't want you like having 6 cups of coffee. So that's when we'll use the capsules. So those are an option. And then the tea, the green tea has the reishi, and then the red tea has both reishi and cordyceps in it as well. Yes, and there's a hot chocolate as well, which is good, which my kids like as well. And where can those be purchased? I know Tiffany has the information of where you guys can purchase them through that. So yeah, just with whenever we're buying like supplements and stuff like that, I always want to go to the source. So any questions on anything we covered? I threw a lot out there, and thank you for your time. I know I went over time too. I get excited and I like to share.
This is amazing, Natalie. I know I have tons of questions, but are there any questions from the group here now? I know our time is getting a little bit closer to the end. I will send the link around, and also I'll send the video replay out to everybody as well so that they can listen in more. I think that Natalie, you've really put it together. And for me, just kind of helping to connect, as women, as we go through the changes. And I love your analogy of the plates, of how, in our lives, we're used to juggling all the plates. And we have healthy hormones, but then when they start to drop off as we go through perimenopause, then who takes the rest of this burden? And it's often the adrenals. And then having something that can be natural, that can help us to balance. But also, I didn't know about the mushrooms, the words that they're used. I'm always looking for nature's medicine, but that they're called the, what do we say? Like the spiritual potency, the herb of spiritual potency, and the mushroom of immortality. This is kind of great. And these have been used again for centuries. And, if we look at especially traditional Chinese medicine, right? Reishi is it's a part of almost everything that you hear about, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. In the early Chinese dynasties, the reishi was actually reserved for royalty. So it was actually a crime if you were not, specifically on task from like whoever the emperor was or part of the royal family. If you were found with reishi, it was actually like a very, very serious offense. Like they would cut your hand off if you had it and if you weren't, because it was like, again, the emperors are like are everything. So yes, super. They know, like, right, again, like when we look at these things where it's just like, oh, we've known all along, right? We've just like strayed from like the path. So it's just like coming back to center, coming back to the truth of things.
And I just want to echo too, Natalie, the first time I took lion's mane, I was the same. I'm like, what is this magic? Like again, I've never taken any amphetamines, but I felt like it was coffee, but smooth with just so much energy and the mental clarity that came with lion's mane. And so that was an interesting one for me on my journey when I started, probably lion's mane almost, yeah, a decade ago or so.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of lion's mane. It's like, wow, I love it. Amazing. Yeah. Yeah. And so my recommendation for everyone is to try it, like see which product you feel is called to you, right? Whether it's a coffee or a tea, try it, try a couple different ones, see which one you like, and look at where you can incorporate that into your regular routine, right? So you can, if you're like a cup of coffee a day person, right? This could be your cup of coffee. A common question is people will ask is, can I drink other coffee while I do this? It's like, yeah, you can, right? But we also recommend, because some people will notice that palpable change right away. Some people won't. So I often recommend is get a box and just, however, if you drink 1, 2, 3 cups of coffee, just do the organo for whatever that lasts for you, whether it's like 7 days or 30 days, and then see how you feel. Because you might not notice that little increment. You might not notice that on day one, right? But what I often find people will do is like they'll grab a box, they'll drink it, the box will be empty, they'll go back to drinking what they were doing before, and that's where they will see like, whoa, now I can see what I was drinking before, that, oh my gosh, it gave me acid reflux right away. Oh my gosh, like I got jittery right away. Or I just didn't even like the taste of it anymore. And I drank that coffee for 10 years. So it's never ceases to amaze me how quickly the body will give you a different output based on different inputs.
And I think there's a few questions there, Natalie, and if you can respond. But one, too, when I think about mushrooms and adaptogens, it's also about the frequency, and, I've spoken about frequency in terms of energy before, and we know that food has frequency, and these mushrooms are a super high level frequency. So we're really adding in a very small quantity, but we can be enhancing our own frequency through this basic plant medicine.
Yeah. So Blanca's asking, would lion's mane be good for ADHD? I would say it wouldn't hurt, right? When we look at, again, what's the root of that? Is it fast mind? Is it inflammation? Is it nutrient depletion? It definitely wouldn't hurt, and it's going to not be adverse to try it for 30 days and see if it makes any difference. And again, looking at the other things that can be supportive for that, like especially light exposure from screens, right? Healthy circadian rhythm, all around healthy nutrition, good outlets for energy, right? What is that person's boundaries, right? Not knowing if this ADHD is like child or adult. Often it can be a belief that people with ADHD can't focus, which is not actually true. They actually hyper focus on that which they want to focus on. And it's when they're being requested to focus on things that are not in alignment with their values or not they're interested in, that those hyperactive or attention deficit comes out. It's just like, I'm not interested in that thing. So why would I focus on it? And they maybe have different internal motivations for other things that just might not be in the setting they are in. So that's just another example of like boundaries and what is someone naturally gravitated to, especially if it's a child. If you can find if something other than video games, right? I have 2 boys. It's like, what other than video games do they have a natural propensity to cling to? Because there's something they can hyper focus on. So it's not a deficit of not an attention deficit technically, right? It's just they really want to focus on this and they don't care about anything else, right? But has our system, anyway, I got 2 boys in school, so I could go on about that for a while. Next question, is there such a thing as taking too many various adaptogens? If you replace on OrthoAdapt, can you still consume these? So yes, you can still consume these with the OrthoAdapt. And it brings a great question of, don't start too much at the same time, especially if we're talking about like something like adaptogen. So if you're taking something that has, because a lot of supplement products will have multiple adaptogens in one thing, which is fine. Or if you're starting like ginseng and rhodiola. And like, so if you start a whole bunch of things at once and you feel better, sometimes we don't know, okay, was it really one of these things or was it a combination? Or if maybe I didn't feel well, which one was it? Sometimes we don't know. And then sometimes we'll cycle different, right? Again, sometimes it's paying attention and being in tune with like yourself and the demands of life. Like what's kind of like your regular baseline, right? And then when do you need more? Like I was chatting with an acupuncturist in our previous call. And so like she just got back from Europe. So I was telling her about the stress reset protocol, which uses the spores of the mushroom, so the capsules, and the highest dose is part of the protocol. And so like I did that protocol when I got back from traveling from Europe last summer, right? So there's times where I need more and I know I need more. And so I'll do different doses for a different period of time, right? If we're coming over an illness, if we're going back and forth through shift work, if we're coming back from a long travel and we have that jet lag, okay, well, my body is stressed, right? I willingly went on vacation and enjoyed it. But when I come back to a 6 hour time difference and a 36-hour travel day, my body's like, whoa. So I pull on all of the things at very high dose for 7 to 10 days to get my body righted again, right? I don't do that every day, right? So I have like the regular ongoing doses and then have them as more. So that's a long way of saying is, yes, you can take them at the same time, and your body will have different demands over the course of the year because you're going to have different cycles and seasons as well.
Well, this is wonderful, and I'll just kind of honor everyone's time. So thank you so much, Natalie. And how can people follow along with you? I know you do a lot on terms of YouTube and your social media, and then I'll share that with the notes with those that attended.
Perfect. Yeah, you can follow me on Instagram or Facebook. Those are Facebook, I would say, is like where I'm most active. Sometimes it's harder to like connect with someone on Facebook. Facebook or Instagram are the best places to follow along.
That's great. Thank you so much for all of your help. Thanks to everybody who attended today, and hopefully you've got a little bit more knowledge now about how you can become more resilient.
Amazing. Thank
Thanks.
you. Thank you all.
Bye.